What's going on today, guys? All right, so today we're going to talk about the Philodendron Silver Sword. If you go back to a couple of my videos previously, I don't know how far ago, guys, but you have seen much bigger, larger Philodendrons silver swords. I have them, they're upstairs in my bathroom. I figured since I was just talking about the type of the care needs for the plants, that I'm going to just go ahead and introduce you to my new babies that I have. So, confession, every time I go to my local grocery store that's right up the road, anytime I go in there and I see a Philodendron Silver Sword, I buy it. Yes, I buy it. The Philodendron Silver Sword was one of those plants that when I first got into buying plants, it was my first major plant that I bought in my collection for Father's Day. We talked about the Standalona, how my wife picked that one up by accident, and to go from there. This is another plant which I did not pick up by accident, but it was a big plant. Well, it had two big leaves and it had a third shoot that was coming out. And I just had to have it. I didn't know what a Philodendron Silver Sword was until I got there. The leaves are, again, like a bluish green tint. It is absolutely beautiful up close. Reason why I get the plant all the time is because that plant died and I bought another one. And it died again, and I bought another one, and that's one of the ones that I have up there. I was going to give up on buying the Silver Sword after that second one died, but a friend of mine on Instagram encouraged me to buy the plant and give it another try because my skills probably had picked back up, and I probably learned some things that I didn't know I had learned. And I'm so glad she did because, yeah, I've been buying them ever since and they've all stayed alive ever since. I don't care who I get the information from as long as the information is right. You know what I mean? So, Philodendron Silver Sword. It is a very easygoing plant. It does not like grow light. Do not put this plant under a grow light at all. It will hate you and it will die. That was the mistake I made with my first two. First one, I had it directly under a grow light. Then I did a repot in terrible soil. And then I dropped the plant. It just had terrible life. It just really did. Second one, no drops, no bruises. However, it was the grow light issue. Grow light was just too close to the plant. At that time, I didn't have a light reader. I just was experimenting going from there. I had that grow light like almost basically right there, almost kissing that plant. Killed that plant very, very quickly. I would say that the light, I just burnt the plant down. I did get enough common sense to move the plant away from the grow light a little bit, but I still felt like the plant needed the grow light, so even my little bit still wasn't enough. And then I just said, you know what, on the third time, I'm just going to place the plant somewhere where a window is at and give it no grow light and just see what's going to happen. But this time, when I got it, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to put all this effort into giving it this stuff and go all crazy with it. I'm going to just get this plant, put this plant somewhere, and just see what's going to happen without me fooling around or touching it. I won't going to change the soil. I won't going to put it on no anything. Just going to see what it's going to do. And I'll be dagged on if that plant didn't do its thing. So, these plants right here do not need to be fed, although I feed them every time. I've seen them do pretty good without the food. When you see this plant, you see them in many different shapes. And by shapes, I mean you see them with big leaves, or I've seen them a lot with very little bitty leaves on like stakes. And I don't know what that's about, but every plant I've grown out so far that I bought from my grocery store, these are how the leaves come in and they only get bigger. I've never seen like a whole lot of little leaves together. Like, I don't know what's going on, but I've seen them in a couple of nurseries like that. I don't know if they're just like really, really just young plants and it's just been put together and they just started trailing at a very early age. I don't know, but by the time I get them like this is my favorite look of them. No grow light. If you do have a room or a house that absolutely has no windows that you're having it in, then yes, use a grow light. But I would keep that grow light very far away from it, just enough to know that some light is touching the leaves. get you a light reader. You know, we talked about that before. It's a LUX reader. Just type in light reader in Google and it will send and it'll pop up. You buy one and it'll measure the light that your plant is from the grow light that it's receiving. A good receiving anything over 2,000. 1,000 to 2,000 is considered low light, but that's what I would keep it at, between that 1,000 and 2,000. Anything under 2,000. Most plants love above 2,000, like between that 2 and 6,000 range. 6,000 a little high, but most common between the 2 and 4,000 range. But I wouldn't put that plant in that range because, again, this plant doesn't like grow light. So I would say give it the minimum as possible, but to make sure it still is receiving some light. Soil. It likes its soil to dry out completely and then water it thoroughly. That means that if the soil is moist when you touch it, it don't matter if it's the third week that you haven't given it anything. Don't do it. Don't give it any water. You can't put this plant on a continuous water cycle because you just don't know. I have gone to this plant in 2 weeks and the water has been completely gone. And then I have gone to this plant after 2 weeks and the soil is still very much moist. I don't know if it has something to do with the way the air was traveling that week or whatever it is or so forth. Whatever it is, check your plant before you just water your plant because you don't just water it because it's Tuesday. Make sure it needs a drinking. And then when you do water your plant, you need to make sure that the water starts to pass through and comes out the bottom of the pot. That is how you thoroughly water. That is not overwatering your plant. Again, just make sure that that water completely passes through the bottom. Okay, and if the water passes through the bottom really fast, then what I would suggest for you to do is to put the plant into a watering tray and let that water that passed through, let it sit there for about 15 minutes just to make sure the plant gets a good drinking. Because sometimes when you have a real airy mix, the water can pass through so fast that the soil doesn't even get a chance to get there. So just keep that in mind. The price of this plant is very cheap. You can get this plant this size right here. I paid $14 for this plant. You can go into like a local nursery and you can get them for about $15 to $20 when they're a single plant like this. Now, when they start being big or when you buy them like on a plank, I have seen them get up to like $79, $99, $129 and so forth. But again, when you first starting off with a new plant, as a suggestion, go with the smaller plant, something that doesn't hit your wallet that hard. So just in case you can't give it the care that you thought that you could, you're not at a big loss and scared to start over again. This is a really easy going plant though, guys. I would definitely say get you one. If you have one, I'm pretty sure you have good stories with it. And I think that it's a pretty fast grower, if you ask me, in comparison to some of the other plants. You put this plant on something it can climb on, it's going to push out a leaf for you at least once a month. That's what my ones are doing up there. But they're also, the leaves are so big as well, so a lot of energy are going to that leaf size versus just getting another leaf out. That's all I got for you today. So, as always, when you're growing with Sean, there's always something to learn.